And we are live.
Hello.
Live in HD, 3D, stereoscopic, Blu-ray,
PBR.
DVD, PBR.
Whatever you said.
PBS, ABC, HBO.
HGTV.
HGTV, yeah. All right, well, here we are. As you can see, we're doing a video podcast for the first time. We were asking ourselves last night, what can we do to kind of
engage people more?
Yeah, spruce things up a little bit. And we thought, well, you know what? Let's try doing a video version because it's really easy to upload a video version. We can put it on YouTube and Anchor by Spotify. Thank you, our sponsors. They...
I forgot.
Yeah, they are our sponsors. They actually make it really easy for you to upload a video podcast. And I believe that version goes straight to Spotify because Anchor is, I think, owned and operated by Spotify.
Spotify shows videos?
Yeah. I
did not know that. I don't have a Spotify account.
They started doing that like semi recently in the last few years. Yeah, I don't think the Apple Podcast version will have video. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast and you're like, well, I wonder what they're doing, go watch it on YouTube or on Spotify, and we'll see you there. Yes. All right. Well, weekly update. What's new?
It's our anniversary this week.
That is true.
We just got back from a picnic, so if we seem a little winded, it's because we were like, drop everything, unpack, record.
Yeah.
So bear with us.
Yep.
And that's why I'm wearing a hat.
Change shirts and everything.
Yeah, I did not. I was like, let's just get the ball rolling and I'll shower after.
Yep. All right. Well, anything else that's new?
Nope. Not for me.
I had a colonoscopy. Just gonna tell people that. I was like, should I mention that? Just say it. Yeah. Very interesting procedure.
Get checked.
Get checked. I'm good. But the day before the day before the colonoscopy, worst day ever.
Yeah, you were struggling.
Yeah. You can't eat anything. You have all liquid diet, which is hard. And you got to like take this medication where you just like
you poop everything out.
Well, okay, you empty everything out. Yeah.
You can't just say you take a medication.
I know, I get it. Yeah, no, but it is the worst. It's pretty awful. But thankfully, I don't have to do it for a while after doing that. So anyway, yeah, I had that for the first time. So if you have any questions, hit me up about colonoscopies.
The good news is everything's good. That's all that matters.
Yes, exactly. Everything's good. I'm healthy. Who would have known?
Me.
Yeah, no, it's good to be told that you're healthy. Well, yeah, I think that's all the updates. It's Saturday afternoon, so let's do it. Like we always do.
Nice.
I don't know whether to look over there or look over just at you.
I don't know, both. Whatever feels natural.
All right. Well, let's do it. Who goes first?
I'm going first.
All right.
So I was assigned to watch RRR or Triple R. Do we really know what it is?
It's RRR.
Okay.
It stands for Rise, Roar, Revolt.
How do you know it's not Triple R?
Because it's Rise, Roar, Revolt.
Yeah, but you could still say Triple R and it still like represents.
That's like Vin Diesel Triple X, but the X's don't stand for anything. So that makes sense that you would say Triple X.
But if someone's like name was like all the things started as A and they're like, I'm Triple A, and it's like, it stands for something, you know?
Okay, well, this movie was directed by S.S. Rajamouli. So are you going to call him Double S Rajamouli because he's got two S's?
I mean, maybe if he wanted to go by that, you know?
All right.
I'm just saying. Do we really know?
It's Rise, Roar, Revolt, which makes it RRR.
Okay. RRR. RRR. Okay, so this movie's very long. Very, very long. So I'm going to try to, with my synopsis, make everything as clear as possible, but also as concise as possible. Because if we go into the depths of everything, we'll be here forever.
Yeah. No, we don't have to cover everything that happens. But
exactly.
Yeah, we just synopsis, and then we'll just talk about our thoughts.
Even my synopsis is like a whole written page.
Well,
college ruled paper. Okay, so anyways,
yes.
The story starts with basically this little girl named Molly.
Okay.
Gets taken from a village away from her mom.
Sorry, I feel like we just need to quickly clarify. RRR is an Indian film. It was made in India.
Right?
Tollywood is originally filmed in Telugu, which is a language that they speak in India. It's not Bollywood. Bollywood refers to the Hindi-speaking film industry in Mumbai. Did all my research on that. So yes, this is made, not in America. So it's a completely different industry of cinema.
Yes.
I feel like that's important to clarify.
Yes. I think you also mentioned that in our last episode too at the end when you assigned it.
Well,
but again, it's good
who
to
knows
have that
if
refresher.
they were listening, Yeah.
So back to the story. Story starts with the little girl who gets taken away from a village, taken by these like white British colonists, basically. This woman and this man who like rule the British Empire, I guess, at the time, which is like around 1920s. And so, yeah, they basically take away this girl just because the wife wants to take her as kind of like a...
Wait, sorry, which wife? Wait.
The British people.
Oh, the British people.
people.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot that we mentioned that. I'm
paying attention.
Yeah.
It's what we've been one sentence
Yeah, I know. There's British people.
Yes.
The wife of in the British group.
Yeah. She's like, ooh, cool toy.
Yeah.
Let me take her.
She can sing so well. I want her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, again, these white people, this man and this woman, are British rulers who have kind of taken over Delhi as far as... Am I correct?
Is it Delhi?
I think so. I Googled it this morning just to make sure I was correct.
Okay.
I think so. Again, in the 1920s. And so after this little girl is taken, the story then kind of follows two men. One of the guys is Raju, who is a police officer. And he's like a police officer like for the British. And then there is a man who is from this village that the little girl was taken from. And his name, at the time, we know him as Akhtar.
Yes.
Akhtar. But we learn later that his real name is Beam.
Yes.
And basically, he has gone undercover to get Molly back because, yeah, they want her back in the village, back with her mom.
Molly is also Beam's sister.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So basically we're following these two men, and at first we're kind of following their separate journeys. But at some point there is a kid who needs rescuing, and they both kind of team up. They both happen to be in the same place at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that scene.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go into detail because, again, if we go into every little detail, it'll take forever.
Yeah.
But basically they team up to save this kid. And from that point on, they become really close friends. And they have this whole, like, bromance, like, montage of them just, like, becoming really close.
I mean, I do want to say, sorry, I don't want to interrupt too much, but, like, that scene where they meet, it's super action-packed. Like, it's super wild. They're, like, flying on ropes and, like, protecting themselves from fire with, like, a flag. And it's wild. There's a lot going on there.
It is. But, like, there's a lot going on in the whole movie. So in the grand scheme of things, that moment is, like, seems very little compared to the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I guess it's just, it feels important to clarify that, like, yeah, they meet, but it's like the context of what they're meeting and what you're experiencing on screen is like this big set piece. Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate?
No. I mean, I guess it's just, I'm trying to help paint a picture that, like, there are these big set pieces happening. Like, we might describe it as like, and then this happens and this happens, but like what you're seeing on screen,
everything is like blown,
a whole ordeal. Yeah,
blown and out of proportion, basically.
Which I think is amazing. But get into it later.
Yeah, we can follow up later.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we get through the story so that nothing gets confusing.
Yeah.
So at this point they become really close friends, and for like a good chunk of the movie, it's just them forming this relationship and like really enjoying each other's company, helping out one another. And so at this point, they don't know. So basically, Raju, who's the police officer, gets assigned by the British people to find the person who's trying to take Molly back. And he does not realize that is Akhtar. And so, and Akhtar doesn't realize that Raju is a police officer who's trying to actually capture him. And so you're waiting for a good chunk of time for them to finally like find each other out and see what happens when that does happen. And spoiler alert, it does happen. So, yeah.
What?
So at some point they realize who each other are, and Akhtar, basically Raju, after he kind of starts to like figure all this out, he's fighting with Akhtar's like brother, and gets poisoned, and so he's about to like die from this poison, and so then Akhtar saves him. And I don't think at this point Akhtar really realized that he was a police officer.
No, he did not.
Like,
at all.
Yeah, so he saves him, and after he saves him, he's like, you know what? It's time to like get Molly back. So Raju's like recovering from this poison, so he's kind of away for now.
But it's also at that time where Akhtar reveals to him, that like, I'm trying to get my sister back. This is my whole backstory. My name's not Akhtar. It's Beam. And like Raju, who also goes by Rama, that's the moment where he finds out like, oh,
for sure that it's him.
Like he's the one that he's been looking for this whole time.
Yeah. My bad.
All good.
So then Beam goes to this party that's being held at the like, what do you call it? A castle, palace,
the Capitol,
whatever.
Palace,
the British palace.
Yeah. It's a castle.
Yeah. So he goes there to get Molly back, and just like unleashes every animal possible.
It's amazing.
Unleashes every animal possible. So chaos ensues. Obviously, the like police officers there, the troops there are like fighting off these animals. Beam's fighting people in order to get to Molly.
There's all the animals are CGI the whole time.
Yes. It's quite wild.
Yeah.
And so while all this is happening, we see someone appear, and it's Raju. And he's like magically healed.
Yeah. That happens a lot in this movie.
Yeah. People just heal so quickly in this movie.
Yeah.
And he is coming to fight Beam.
Yes. But the way he enters is like on this chariot with like all this
4 horses,
with like 4 horses on it. There's a bunch of fire behind him, and he's like, and he's just ready to go. And when he like jumps off of it, he like releases the horses, like pushes the thing, like the metal part that's like holding onto the horse's reins down, and then that like flips the whole chariot. I don't even know what to call it. What's carriage?
Yeah.
It flips the whole carriage forward, and it's like on fire, and then like a wheel flies off, and then like hits Beam in the chest, and he flies back. So it's all very intense.
Yeah, it's a lot visually.
It's very action packed.
Yeah,
it's a good time. That's what I'm saying.
So they have like a fight. They have a fight, and it results in Beam getting captured. So Raju is successful. He captures Beam for the British people. And the British people decide we're going to have a public flogging, and then eventually we're going to hang him. And so this whole time you're really like, what is Raju doing? Like, this is his friend. Like, why is he working with the British? Like, why is he doing this thing?
Yeah.
And we find out that he actually is not this like bad guy that we think. He's really the reason why he's a police officer and really keen on becoming this like senior police officer, which was why he took on this task to find the dude, because the white woman was like, if whoever finds him will become a like big time police officer or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget the proper term she said.
Yeah.
Like senior police officer.
She's like, if you bring him back dead, you'll get a bounty, but if you bring him back alive, you'll be promoted to a senior officer. Yeah.
Right. And so the reason he's so bent on becoming the senior officer, even though it means kind of putting Beam in harm's way, is because he is trying to basically infiltrate from within. And so he is like, once I become the senior officer, I can basically steal all their weapons, give it back to like my people back at home, and then we can take them down.
Yep.
So it's all for like a bigger cause, but he is still kind of struggling with the fact that in order to do that, he does have to harm Beam, which he's really established this relationship with.
Yeah.
And Beam doesn't know all of this. So Beam just thinks like, oh, this is my friend who betrayed me.
Right.
And like, why is he doing this?
Yeah. Well, like we as an audience are like, oh, these two are great. They both have their own reasons.
Yeah.
And they're fighting each other. You're really coming to grips with the fact that like you don't know who to root for, and they're fighting each other, and there's no like clear winner. It's it's kind of a Goku Vegeta type relationship. For my Dragon Ball fans.
Yeah. So after Beam's capture, right, they decide to make plans for the public flogging and for the like hanging of him. And because Raju now has like status, like more status than he did before, he can kind of dictate or like steer the British to do things the way he kind of wants it to. So he comes up with this plan to help Beam and Molly escape. But they don't know this. And so he decides like, oh, if I have them, like we will go through with like the public flogging.
Right.
But for his like hanging, I'll tell them to take Beam somewhere like I think it was like a lake or something at a lake, and I'll like set up things to where I'll make sure they bring Molly with him and so that they can like I can get them to escape. So he is successful in helping them escape. However, he ends up getting captured.
Oh yeah.
So Beam and Molly escape, and somehow I kind of got lost in this part. Not gonna lie, because I started to like. It was really long and I started to like lose attention. But somehow he ends up connecting with Raju's wife. And I don't think he realizes it's Raju's wife.
Oh, yeah. Beam runs away with Molly. And I can't really quite remember. He like stumbles upon a group. Yeah. And it happens to be Raju's people.
Wife. Yeah. And so Raju's wife explains talks about her husband and is like, yeah, my husband's a police officer. And they kind of like freak out for a second. She's like, no, this is his plan. And like Beam kind of puts two and two together and is like, oh, you're Raju's wife.
He's like, I didn't realize he was doing such an honorable thing.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize that like he's had a larger plan. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go get him because since Raju got captured for like being a traitor, he's now arrested and they're going to kill him as well. They're going to hang him. And so Beam goes out to save him. And basically, I'm just going to like wrap it up real nice in a bow. Beam and Raju team up together. Raju escapes with the help of Beam. They like take down the whole British Empire essentially. And
they literally destroy the castle. By flinging a motorcycle on fire into a room full of TNT.
But there were like 12 rooms of
which
TNT.
Which then happens to blow up every room. Yeah.
Yeah. And so long story short, it all ends very happily. Yeah. The people get the weapons that they need to make sure, they get out of their oppressor.
Molly gets back to the village.
Molly gets back to her mom, back to the village. And everyone essentially lives happily ever after and ends in a great dance number.
Yeah. A great dance number, actually.
So that's 3 hours of content.
That's 3 hours.
Condensed.
Yeah.
And hopefully I did a good job of making sure it was clear. So I want to get into just like general thoughts. I honestly didn't write too much of like my own thoughts about this. Because I was just kind of like taking in the movie. It's definitely a movie you kind of have to process for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it.
So my history with like Bollywood type movies. I know this is Tollywood. I don't want to like say the two are the same, but
movies made in India.
Exactly. I've only seen one that you had me watch. We watched together.
3 Idiots.
Yes.
It's a great one.
And I gotta be honest, I didn't enjoy it.
It was pretty clear you did not fully enjoy 3 Idiots.
Yes. And here are my reasons why. One, again, the movies are very long, and I don't want to say I have a very short attention span, but I do struggle with 3-hour movies. Even 3-hour like Marvel movies, like any 3-hour movies, I'm like, all right, when are we wrapping it up?
There's only one 3-hour Marvel movie. It's Avengers Endgame. But
they're all pretty long. Well, that says something because even the shorter
2.5 hours.
Even the shorter ones, I'm like, all right, let's wrap it up. Like it's getting a bit long. So I really struggle with like sitting through longer movies.
Okay.
I also don't like musicals. So anything that has like random songs, random dance numbers, I'm not usually into.
Right.
I only really like your classic musicals like Grease or like Rent. And those are really probably the only two I can like fully say I love.
Okay.
And even those, I never sit down and choose to watch it. It's like if someone's watching it, I'll join in. So with all that being said, of like why I don't typically think I enjoy like movies from India because they have this kind of like aspect to them. All that being said, I actually did enjoy this movie.
Hey, all right. I've been waiting to hear that.
Yes, I was trying to keep my like reactions to a minimum because I knew you would think. I felt like you came in thinking like she's not gonna like it.
Don't worry.
But I did enjoy this movie. It was very fun. It was very cute. Like I was very much like rooting for their bromance. I loved that. There's not too many musical or like dance numbers. There's like two dance numbers. There's one in the middle, where they're at like a party. Yeah. And then there's like one at the very end, like credits kind of thing.
The soundtrack overall is like really good. Yeah. Yeah, and there is. So I'd say there's like 5 like standout songs.
Is there even that many?
Yeah. There's there's
only like 2 that they like sing.
Yeah. There's only like 2 dance numbers, and like the second dance number is like the end credits dance number, which that one's just like it's just a dance number for the credits, which is it's honestly a blast. And the first one is like. Yes, it's a dance number that's happening like an hour into the movie, but at least it's in the context of like the story. Mm-hmm. Like I think when we watched like 3 Idiots, they would just go into a dance number and it's like, that's not happening as part of the story. It's like they'll be having a conversation, they'll be like, oh, don't you know? And then they'll start singing and they'll have like a whole dance number. Mm-hmm. At least this dance number happens like they're at a place where people are already dancing.
Yeah, it was like a dance battle.
Yeah, well,
that started.
Can we get into that scene?
Yes.
Okay. So, there's let's see. There's this British woman who befriends Beam.
Her name is Jenny. We'll talk about her in depth later.
Oh, okay. So Jenny invites Beam to the palace because there's like a ball or something happening. Mm-hmm. And then, there's a bunch of British dudes at the ball. Mm-hmm. And like, these are like British colonizers in India. They're like super racist.
Very racist.
Yeah. So they see Beam there and they're not treating him well at all. And
they really hate that, like, Jenny is, like, interested in Beam.
Right. And so they're like, oh, can't you do the tango? Can't you do this? Can't you do that?
The fancy stuff.
Yeah. And then, and he's just being a total jerk. Yeah. And then Raju is there, and he's like, we got to show this guy what's up. And he like starts playing on the drums and he's like, don't you know this one? And the guy's like, huh? And then that's when they go into their dance number. Yeah. And so it's like, it's a dance number, but it's like it's this whole scene where they're basically having a dance battle against their oppressors and win. Yeah. Which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely very fun to watch.
Yeah. That song is called Natu Natu and it's a banger. That's all I'm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I could say more than that, but it's a great song. Yeah. I've honestly like watched that scene on YouTube multiple times, and because every time I hear it, I'm just like, yeah. It's great. It's really fun.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the dance numbers, and that surprised me because again, I hate musicals and I hate things where people just burst out into song. So I was pleasantly surprised at how much I did enjoy it. Another thought, so the visual effects.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff is CGI, which is cool. At times, it looks really good. At times, it looks terrible.
Yeah. It's very back and forth. It's
very back and forth.
But it's like, it's such a fun movie that it's like, whatever. You know?
I mean, definitely, it's not like I expected it to be amazing CGI. Like, I enjoyed it regardless, and I'm not trying to, like, pick on the CGI, right? But I do think it's just kind of funny because like there's a moment where you're like, wow, like look at those animals, and then they move and you're like, oh, you're like, whoa.
If you pause on the animals, they look great, right? But when they move,
move, you're like, ooh.
It's not great.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I really loved about this movie is so like the whole movie is kind of this big juxtaposition with fire and water. So Raju is like the fire and Beam is the water. And I think that's very present in their personalities. Like thinking of like, if you think of like zodiac signs, your fire signs, your water signs, and like how they kind of interact with people. I can definitely see how Beam is the water and Raju's the fire. And I love that you have these like visual elements that really play that up. And when they come together, like at the end when they're fighting with like the British people, they're fighting together with the British people. Yeah. You see Raju using fire to like fight these people, and you see Beam using water to like fight the people, and you see the combination of the two and how it works. And I thought that was really cool. I thought, especially like to have that visual is really nice.
Yeah, I think that final battle scene is so dope.
It's pretty cool.
Like,
not gonna lie.
It's not just that it's like, oh, big action, fire, water, like thematic elements and whatnot. It's like, it's the fact that they really just like play it up. Like they really make it like cheesy, like satisfyingly cheesy action, like over the top, like totally impossible, like full escapism. You are
like
watching
motorcycles.
a movie. Yeah, throwing motorcycles.
Like, huh?
Like I think like Beam like hits this like tree branch that's on fire and it goes spinning, and then like Rama just catches it and then just like whacks a dude with it, and then like jumps off of a tree and like shoots a dude with a bow and arrow. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very fun to watch. Super fun. You're just like, whoa, what a spectacle.
It's very macho.
Definitely. So the last thing I want to say, and of course this is the setting of the movie, this is the point of the movie, but the white people in this movie are so infuriating.
Oh yeah. Well,
that's the point. Like, it's the 20s, it's colonizers again. They're all very racist and stuff like that, but it's just like, it just like makes me boil inside. Yeah. And so like we have this character Jenny, and Jenny's like the nice girl, the nice white girl, kind of white savior-y.
Yeah.
Like she's like one of the guys trying to get into the place.
Beam's trying to get into the palace, and he's like, let's befriend this woman.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about there's like a line of people who are trying to get into the palace or whatever, and one of the officers was like beating the person because he forgot his ID. Yeah, he forgot his ID. And she's like, like, stop, like, don't hurt him, yada, yada, which is like, I mean, that's great, no one should be beaten, so everyone should be intervening and stopping that. But at the same time, I was just like, I can tell where this character's going. I can tell why she's put in this movie. Yeah. And I don't know, something about it just really irked me.
I mean, she's using her privilege to help the people.
Right, which is great.
Give them a voice.
But it was... Yeah, that's great. I don't always like when it's like the love interest.
I mean, at the end of the movie, her and Beam, like, they don't kiss or anything. Like, they have a hug.
But here's the thing, because I was like, you know what? she's doing good things. She's being a great person, and I love that, and that's great. But this is when I really was like, Jenny. Mm-hmm. When Beam is having his public flogging, she doesn't do anything. She just sits there and watches.
Oh yeah, she's just watching
the rest of the people.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, no, I'm not cutting her some slack. I'm not giving her that, because where is she now? Not doing anything.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough.
Exactly. And then it's not like she tried to help Molly get out.
True.
So there we go. She's not that great.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Jenny's fake.
She is.
Super fake.
She is.
Okay. Well, you know what? Watching this movie, I'm not really at all focused on Jenny.
Mm-hmm. I mean, no, I wasn't either. But like,
I just care about what's going on with Rama / Raju, and Beam. What's their whole thing?
I get that.
It's like their relationship.
I get that, but like, in my lived experience, I can be pretty skeptical of people. And I hate to say that, because like, I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and like, get a feel for who they are before I make any kind of judgment. But at the same time, that's just kind of like what I have to do to be safe. Yeah. And so like, definitely going into it, I am kind of hyper focused on these white characters, because I'm like, who are they? What are they about? Right. What messages are they giving off?
Yeah.
So I was very kind of like distracted by Jenny, and like,
I had a feeling you'd have something to say about her. Because even when I was watching it, like during the Natu Natu dance sequence, because like the British men are like trying to kind of like pick on Beam and stuff, and like stop him from dancing. Yeah. And then like all of the white women are like, they stop the white men, and then they go to Rama and Beam. They're like, go. Yeah. Do your local dance.
What did I say during the movie at the end? Oh, I was like, I feel like she would respond like by the end of like, yes, I'm amongst the people.
This
is great. I'm a new woman.
Yeah, because at the end there's like a dance number, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of like all the good guy characters are basically chiming in like, hey!
Yeah, they're all dancing.
And then like she pops up and I don't even, was she singing when she popped up or was she just there?
Yeah, she starts singing and she's dancing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She has like her own little part where she like
just pops up and
dance.
it's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I like when we were watching it last night. Definitely when she popped up in the dance now, I like laughed. I was like, what? It's just like, it was just felt. Yeah.
But I mean, no shade to Jenny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just like, you wasn't saying anything. You were very silent when you were most needed.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, so I do want to say the Natu Natu dance sequence, I did look it up, and Natu means like local country made. Or at least I'm pretty sure based on a few Google searches that I did. So it's basically like saying like, this is how we do it here, which is kind of like the message of the scene, because it's like, yeah, you've got all your like white man dances, but like this is how we do it here. It's like Natu Natu, and it's great. Yeah.
That's all I have.
That's all you have?
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me get into my facts. Yeah. Some of these might surprise you or inform parts of the movie for you. So, okay, first off, this movie was made on the biggest budget ever for an Indian film, which translates to $72 million in USD, which is surprising in how low that is, because we make movies for so much more, and this is a 3-hour movie. It's got dance numbers, it's got
a ton
visual
of CGI,
effects, and the fact that they could make it at this level for only 72 million, like even like low budget blockbuster movies will be made for like at least 90, like usually like 120. I mean, Avengers are like, pushing like 300 mil. And this movie was made like on 72.
Are there usually differences, like if we were comparing them, is it differences in like the way we spend our money? Like, are we paying actors significantly more?
They probably have like different labor laws and how much people are supposed to be paid for their work and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, not sure. I didn't really dive deep into that, but I just overall thought that like, wow, the fact that you can make a movie of this caliber for $72 million in India is like pretty impressive. As I mentioned, this movie is directed by S.S. Rajamouli. He previously is known for making Bahubali 1 and 2. And Bahubali 2 is the second highest grossing movie in India. So when RRR came out, Bahubali 2 was the first highest grossing movie in India. And then when RRR came out, it became the second highest grossing movie in India, just behind Bahubali 2. But then both of them just this year got surpassed by KGF Chapter 2. I'm not sure what that one's about. But just reading all of this, I'm like, so like RRR, like hard to compete with sequels, Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, it's not a sequel. So it's third highest grossing movie in India. Let's see. So you had like just kind of general criticism about these movies that we watched that had been made in India for their long length. So if anybody has seen an Indian movie before, they are generally like very long. They're at least 3 hours. So I was doing some digging into like why that is, and it really it all gets back to like escapism. Like going over the top and taking the audience through a range of emotions, because in India to like go to a movie, it's much more of like a social event. Like you're going out to go see a movie and you want it to last as long as possible. Like they usually have an intermission, which is why a lot of these movies generally feel like two movies packed into one. Like when we were about an hour and a half through the movie, that's when Beam is like having his whole assault on the castle with like unleashing all the animals, and you're like, what more could they do with another hour and a half? Yeah. And it's like after that scene, that's
so much more happens.
That's intermission, and then you come back after the break, and it's like then you watch more of it, which I imagine watching it like that would be like a very satisfying experience. So like. Also, in a lot of Indian cinema, they have this concept called masala films, which is named after the mixture of spices, and it's named as such because you're going out to see like this whole experience for 3 hours. They really try to pack in masala films specifically. They really try to pack in like every genre that they can into these movies, like romance. I don't know what that is. Romance, action, comedy, melodrama, music, like dance numbers. Like they really try to pack all of it in. So that's why like when you watch a lot of them, it's like that's why it's so long. That's why it's like you're watching a whole season of a show. Yeah. And it's just taking you through. It's just got everything in it. It's like it's very like larger than life, over the top. Yeah. Which. Honestly, I just think it's a ton of fun. Okay, so let's see what else we got in here. Okay, so the story of the movie, Rama's character and Beam's character, they're actually based on real life revolutionaries in like early 20th century India.
Is that who was like at the end? They showed like
people's
faces. Okay.
Well, it goes deeper than that actually. Yeah. So Rama and Beam. Like so they're based on revolutionaries that have the same names. Yeah. But the filmmaker, S.S. Rajamouli, he really tried to base their characters and their personalities not just on these revolutionaries, but also on the Hindu deities whose namesakes those two revolutionaries like were named after. So Rama is a deity who's like known to be skilled and graceful, and Bhima is known to be like strong and immovable. So they really like he played up those themes to kind of like these are two revolutionary like heroes, and we're also like plussing them up even like more so by making them like representative of these like religious deities. So like that whole part at the end where they're like having that crazy fight sequence with like the fire and the water and all of that, and like the song that's playing in the background, it's like it's singing about those deities. So it's like Rama's doing something, it's like Rama da, 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 and it's like and it's like talking about like it's like singing about that deity. And I was just so once I like read that and we watched it, I was like, whoa, I'm getting like goosebumps. Because I was like, where else can you get that kind of experience? Like they're specifically referencing these deities in the song, playing in the background and when they're fighting, and it's like I just don't imagine that like escapism can be any more than that. If you're living in a country where it's like we have these two heroes that are revolutionaries that, by the way, they in real life these two revolutionaries never actually met. So it's kind of like fan fiction of like what if they had met? So it's like it's this fan fiction of like these two legendary heroes in like our country's history. What if they had met? And let's make them representative of like these deities that we look up to, and they're just doing like the coolest things. They're like sending out this whole anti-colonial message. They're having a dance battle against them even, and they're like, like our stuff, like the way we dance is better than our oppressors, like, and they just completely take it down. I'm like, that's like the ultimate form of escapism. Like you just, wow, like. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
And we don't like in America, like we don't have that kind of thing. Like we could never cut, like the best we can come up with is like the Avengers or whatever. But like we don't have this thing where it's like, what if like, I don't know, Davy Crockett and Jesus were like put together. Like we wouldn't appreciate that, But that's kind of like for them.
But I think with our history, it's so troubled.
Well, yeah, exactly.
We wouldn't come to a consensus of like who is our people we look up to.
Exactly. And that's why I'm kind of like, that's why I can like see this and know that history and like admire and almost kind of be like envious that they have this like ability to escape that hard, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have in here? Oh, in the final dance number, where they're all like dancing, they're like dancing and singing, and then they're kind of like worshiping like these heroes and these deities. I noticed that this like all of a sudden like towards the end of the song, this like older gentleman like shows up.
Yeah, I was like, who is that?
I was like, who is that? It's the director.
Oh,
and I was like, wow,
cute.
Because like, how cool is that to be like this director who made like the highest grossing movie in your country, and it's like, hey, we just made this whole movie. It was like the ultimate escapism, and now I'm here too. Like, y'all love me. It's like, wow, this is so happy.
I mean, he directed it. He can decide if he's in it.
Yeah. I was just like, wow, this is the ultimate right now. It was
But I mean, when they filmed that, he didn't know it was going to be the highest grossing movie.
No, but it was like it's the movie he made after he just made the highest grossing movie ever. Yeah. So it's like he was already like, you know, very popular. And so yeah, for him to like show up at the end, it's like, hey, we're celebrating, it's all happy, and it's like, and I'm here too. And it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I just like, I have such a smile on my face about that, because I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of everything I had.
Nice. Overall, I highly recommend. Check it out. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 hours, but like, I mean, you admirably sat and watched it.
I watched it in one sitting.
When I watched it like 2 or 3 weeks ago for the first time, and I watched it in 2 sittings.
Because I knew I wouldn't finish it if I broke it up.
Yeah.
I was like, it's either the whole thing or nothing.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm like, I'll probably watch it again before the end of this year, because it's just like, I don't know, like not every year, but sometimes I like put out a list of like, what are my favorite movies that I watched that came out this year? This is definitely gonna be in the top 3.
Wow.
At least so far.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know that I'll watch it again. It takes some dedication.
No, like I don't expect you to watch it again. I'm gonna watch it on my own time. Yeah. Anyway, cool. Yeah, fantastic movie. Highly recommend. Check it out.
It's great.
Okay.
Let's move on.
So, intermission. Pause now. Get a nice drink. Get a Capri Sun. Pop some popcorn, and we'll be right back. And we're back.
You're so silly.
Yeah, no, I try to be. Okay, so I was this past week assigned Abbott Elementary, which is a new show that was released this year. It, I think the simplest way to describe Abbott Elementary is like The Office taking place in an underfunded Philadelphia elementary school. So there's a bunch of different teachers. The main teacher that we follow is Miss Teagues, Janine Teagues. She is played by Quinta
Brunson, I think it's her last name. How you pronounce her last name?
Brunson?
Brunson, I think.
Okay. I didn't write down her last name, so I might need some help on those smaller details. But she's kind of like the main teacher that we follow. She's also the creator of the show, writer of the show. And so, yeah, there's her. There's Barbara Howard, Mrs. Howard. She's the oldest teacher at the school. There's Mr. Hill, Jacob Hill. He's the only young white dude teacher at the school. And his whole character is like, he's trying to be really sensitive about like white fragility, but like sometimes he talks about how he spent time in Africa. He's like trying to be cool and likable to everyone. I love it. It's hilarious. Yeah.
He's so funny.
And then there's Mrs. Chimenti, Melissa Chimenti. She's like this hard as nails Sicilian lady, but she's also a teacher. And then there's the principal, Ava Coleman. She spends all of the money that they get on like self-serving things. She's not qualified to be the principal. She is the principal because the superintendent, she like caught the superintendent cheating on his wife. So she basically blackmailed him into getting a principal job despite being incredibly underqualified. And
but she's hilarious.
She is hilarious. She's so also funny. The worst. Like,
oh yeah,
she is super self-serving. All she cares about is herself and like TikTok trends and being a part of them. And yeah, every single thing is like, how can I make this about me?
She is the worst, but she has these beautiful moments where she's the best.
She has an episode that's like kind of dedicated to her, and kind of like humanizing her, which is good.
And like, despite her being terrible as a leader, she is pretty good with the kids sometimes.
She's
pretty good with the kids in terms of like relating to the kids and like, you know.
She can also be super toxic and say, let's get this smart kid out of class so he can help me with my computer. Yeah.
She can be bad.
I mean,
she also needs HR called on her because she's like, she's just rough.
She's the worst. And then there's Mr. Eddie, Gregory Eddie, who's played by the guy that played young Chris Rock in Everybody Hates Chris. I don't know his name.
I forgot his name. I meant to write down all their names because like these characters are played by very iconic people. I don't even know their teacher names. But like the woman who plays Chessie in The Parent Trap, she's in this.
She's Mrs. Chimenti.
Yeah. The woman who was Moesha's mom is in this. That's the like older teacher.
Mrs. Howard.
There we go. I didn't write down any of the teachers' names. I should have.
Yeah.
The superintendent is the guy from Girlfriend. So like a lot of lot of these characters, especially like the black characters, are from like very popular black sitcoms that just like warm my heart. Like I'm so glad that they're like back in something that's like such an amazing project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Eddie, he like went to school to be a principal. He like interviewed to be the principal at this school and he didn't get the job. He like got offered the job, but then he didn't end up with the job. So he was kind of confused. He later finds out that like Ava blackmailed the superintendent and he has a whole episode where he's just like, nothing means anything.
Yeah. He's like, what is my life?
Yeah. But his whole thing is like he's there as a sub. I think he's filling in for this woman, Miss Schwartz, because she kicked a kid. This like kid kicks her, and then she kicks a kid, and then she basically gets fired. And everybody's like, you can literally say whatever you want to the kid, but you can't kick the kid.
Yeah, you can't hit a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't just say anything to a kid.
Well, yeah, obviously you can't. Yeah, but it's like you can you can scold a kid. You
can maintain your job perhaps.
Yes.
With saying something to a kid
without kicking them. Yeah. So, and before like Mr. Eddie comes to fill in, the janitor, whose name I also just completely forgot. The janitor like fills in for that classroom before Mr. Eddie shows up, and so there's just this quick clip of the janitor. He writes Illuminati on the board, and he just tells the kid like, kids, that's who runs the world. That's who runs the world.
The janitor's super funny.
The janitor is like probably the funniest character. He's got this whole thing where he's just like, is that trash? Like everywhere he is, he's just asking people like, is that trash?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And sometimes they have to like make a choice of like like this thing that's obviously trash, but like Jacob's trying to figure out like what this like donated like computer machine from the 90s does.
Yeah.
And it's like, I still have no idea what that thing even was, but he's like trying to find a use for it.
Yeah.
And so the janitor keeps coming and asking him like, is that trash? And he's like, no. And ultimately he like tries to turn it into like a vase. And then ultimately he just ends up throwing it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had to let go of it.
But yeah, and then sorry, back on Mr. Eddie, I also wrote down that he hates gardening, but he's really good at it. He hates pizza. He's honestly just like really weird about a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. And he like won't commit to this job because for him it's just like this temporary thing, and his dad is also telling him like it's time to get a real job.
Which, like, what? Teaching is like the most
I think teaching
amazing,
is very admirable job. It takes a lot of work. You're very underappreciated, underfunded.
Yeah. And to be like, that's not a real job. Like, that's the hardest job out here.
Yeah.
Especially now in America.
I know. Teachers really deserve to be paid a lot more. They get...
Truly.
I mean, my mom's a teacher, actually. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
They are just taken for a loop, and, you know... Suddenly they'll be told, like, this year we want you to teach this grade. And it's like, great, now I have to go, like, make a whole new curriculum.
Yeah, with very little resources.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on the school
like
you're at. But,
if the school won't fund to get you, like, materials, like, you have to pay for them yourself, which comes out of your own paycheck. Like,
which is super tiny. So, like, how? How? It's like people, I always see, like, I have a lot of friends that are teachers. And I always see, like, at the beginning of every school year, they're like, donations, please. Like, anything helps. So help any teachers in your life.
That's literally every note I wrote on this show. So, like, I mean, because it's 13 episodes. They're each like 22 minutes long. It's honestly just like, it's a very funny show. Like, you can relate to all the characters. It's almost like nostalgic. Like, it reminds you of when you were a kid, but it's also kind of like giving you this perspective of like, what is it like nowadays with, like, now that TikTok's out there? Like, what's it like to be a teacher in, like, the modern world? What's it like to be a kid in the modern world? But also, like, what does it look like inside these, like, underfunded schools that don't have enough money? And, like, the school student population is, like, primarily kids of color. So it's just kind of, like, giving you this, like, entertaining but kind of, like, realistic like, lens into, like, just something that we haven't really gotten a chance to see before. Like I've never seen a show like this on TV, but now that it's here, it makes, like, total sense as an idea, and it's, like, genius. And it's great. It's super entertaining. And it's low key, like, you know, gives you hope. Might make you feel more just, like, sympathetic, or to just, like, teachers in general, and to, like, people who grow up with, like, less money than yourself. And yeah,
definitely. Anything else before I get into some facts or, like, other things?
No.
Okay, no worries, because I brought the tea.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
So for starting out, I love this show. I like blew through it so fast. I didn't rewatch it as you watched it, except for, like, the last few episodes that you watched.
Right.
So I did forget about some things, but just, like, in general. So if you guys have been following kind of Quinta's journey into how she got into this place, so she became, like, really well known for this, like, viral video. I don't know if it originated on Vine, but I found her through Vine, like, these Vines that she would do, where it was like she would go on this date with this, like, dude, and, like, we never saw his face, but, like, they'd go to the movies and he'd be like, can I get a large popcorn? And she'd be like, oh, you got money. Like, it was, like, this really funny, like, skit that she would do. And so that's how I kind of, like, knew about her, like, back in high school. And then I kind of just, like, didn't know where she went after that, because, you know, Vine, like, became not a thing anymore, and TikTok replaced it.
Suddenly disappeared one day.
It just like went away. And apparently, so she did, after that, get a job at BuzzFeed. And so she worked with BuzzFeed for quite a while, it seems like. And then after BuzzFeed, I know she did this comedy show that's on HBO that I think is, like, I don't think Issa doesn't direct it, but Issa's, like, a part of it, or, like, help get
Issa Rae?
Help get it started, but I think someone else is, like, the runner of it. But it was called Black Lady Comedy Show or Sketch. No, Black Lady Sketch Show.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest, it was not my favorite. I couldn't really get into it, but she was on that, and then from there she got Abbott Elementary started. And so I'm just, like, very proud of her for, like, where she started and how she was able to kind of, like, get through the like world of Hollywood, because we all know that can be very difficult for anybody, but especially for, you know, creators of color and things like that, for having to like try and get an opportunity that really lets you shine. She is the youngest Black woman ever nominated for an Emmy in like for acting in a comedy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so I just wanted to like really quickly go through kind of her journey. Okay. In case anyone was unfamiliar.
I was unfamiliar.
Yes. She's been around for a while.
Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
One thing that I really love about Quinta, so she did when Abbott Elementary, or like when they were starting to do those like round table actor talks, and like, you know, when they do like the press,
this became like so popular in the last few years.
Yeah, like those kinds of things. But even like after she created Abbott Elementary and it became the success that it was, she was doing a lot of press, and she, in a lot of those interviews, talked about why she wanted to create a show that didn't talk about Black issues explicitly, at least, and like didn't go out of its way to talk about these things that Black people experience, especially in America. And I really admired her conversation on that and the way that she talked about it. And she kind of was just like, you know, I don't feel properly equipped to really like fully weigh in on all these political issues. And I don't think that's a burden that all Black people should have to face. Like, not all Black people should have to be especially Black creators. We shouldn't have to be the ones to always like have these shows that are like very political, or always have these shows that are like about the issues. Although it is important, and there are people who are willing to take on that work, and that's amazing, and they should do that. But she was like, I'm a comedian, and I wanted to just make comedy. I wanted to make something that felt good. Yeah. And like, sure, the show is obviously about like an underfunded school, so there's gonna be like things that kind of subtly come up about like, you know, we don't have resources, and like this is something that a lot of, you know, Black children or like Black and brown children at these schools experience and whatever. But I love that she was like, that's not my place, and that's not what I want to do, and like I want to focus on the good. I want to like bring something that can really make people happy, especially in a time like this where there is a lot of visual media that's like showing how tragic our society is at the moment. And I appreciated that, because especially with the kind of work that I do, so like my research is very focused on like social justice issues and things like that, and it can get very like hard and tiring, and you're like, I feel so much weight to like be the person or one of the people, because obviously I'm not going to solve racism myself, like that's impossible, right? But there is a lot of weight of like, okay, this thing happened, I have to speak out about it, I have to be the one to do this, I have to like do X, Y, and Z, and you don't really feel like you have a moment to just like step away, but that's really important, obviously, for your mental health. And so yeah, it made me think about when I assigned you Black Nerd Problems, and you read that essay on escapism and how there is no escapism for Black people, because in pretty much every single content you engage with, there's some reminder of reality. Right. And I feel like Abbott Elementary is a really good example of escapism, especially for Black people. And again, you do have those subtle, like, you know, hints about things, but but you feel the like levity of it, and it's something you can really watch and just laugh and just like have a good time. And I love that. It's great. Sorry, I got on my soapbox. But yeah, so that was another thing that I wanted to pinpoint. The last thing, so this is something that I just found out. So there's actually a lawsuit against Abbott Elementary for copyright infringement.
What?
I know.
But there's a second season coming out in September already.
Yeah, it's already being filmed. So
I mean, it's coming 2 months.
Yeah. So Quinta and ABC are being sued by a woman named Christine Davis, who claims that Abbott Elementary was built off of a script she created called This School Year. And she claims that the like look and the feel of the school, of like an inner city school, the mockumentary style, the plot, down to like the characters are like pretty much ripped off from her script. And she claims that she had presented her script she's an aspiring writer and actress. She claims that she presented her script to some production company who gave it to Hulu and ABC. They rejected it. But then Abbott Elementary came along, and she's like, hey, that was my idea.
Yeah.
Now, I was listening to this TikTok of this woman who is a lawyer, a copyright infringement lawyer.
Is
or something
she verified on TikTok?
I don't know. But she seemed very knowledgeable, and she kind of broke it. I mean, she didn't like give her, you know, she wasn't like, blah, blah, blah. But she was just giving what we know so far and like what it means to sue for copyright.
Right.
And she was like, you know, here's the facts that we know. We know that this woman is saying she like created a script, yada, yada. It's really going to come down to like the details of the script. She's like, if someone had an idea for like a mockumentary in an elementary school, that's not enough to win a lawsuit.
No.
If someone had a character that's like similar to this young woman who Quinta plays, that's not enough for copyright infringement.
Right.
If like it has to be almost exactly the same in order for this woman to win. So right now it's kind of up in the air. We don't really know what's happening, but
Interesting. So, like, I feel like this is a common problem in Hollywood where somebody will have an idea, they'll present it, and it'll be like, no. Mm-hmm. And I think in the best situation, they'll, like, buy the idea from the person, and then they'll give it to, like, a different creative who can, like, put a better spin on it.
Yeah.
And then in the worser situations, they'll just, like, take the idea and then say, like, let's hire this person to basically make that and take that idea from that person.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think that this is an isolated incident.
Yeah.
However, like, I guess knowing all of that and also, like, really enjoying this show, it's like, do we want this woman to win her lawsuit or?
Yeah. So here, I'm kind of stuck. If I'm being quite honest, because, you know, I don't want to assume someone has vicious intent when these things come up. And I don't ever, if like this woman's idea was truly stolen, you know, I feel really bad about that. And like, I don't think that's right. However, I'm really stuck because this lawsuit came out as soon as the Emmy nominations were released.
Sus.
And I just
as
like
that tends to happen.
Exactly. And I think like Quinta has created such a great thing, and I think in terms of like who I would want to create this thing, I think Quinta was the right person for that.
Right.
And I don't want to put her down. I don't like that there's like she's getting praise for this thing that's amazing, and then like to push her down because of that. And I guess because the lawsuit came out right after the Emmy nominations, that's what's kind of I'm struggling with it. But at the same time, I'm like, the show's a very common thing.
Yeah.
It's about a school, and it's filmed like The Office. Like, that could have been everyone's idea.
Yeah.
You know? It's
yeah,
just
that's
like,
true. I mean, I think if this woman really like presented this screenplay to ABC and Hulu, and they took the idea and had somebody else, or like and kind of floated the idea to somebody else, and that person was like, oh, I want to make something like that, and then made it and created this product, I think that woman probably deserves to win her lawsuit.
Yeah.
And get paid.
Yeah.
But don't take that money away from the show.
Yeah.
And the creator.
And it's not like she went directly to Quinta. So right. I guess Quinta is not the target here.
Well, I hope not.
Because like if she did a lawsuit, if she's saying that she presented it to a production company, they passed on it, but then like, what is it, CBS or whatever, what is it? Who is it, CBS? ABC?
Wait, ABC,
like...
Yeah, CBS would be Paramount Plus.
Yeah, if CBS was like, oh, here's an idea for
ABC.
a show, Quinta, come along, join the project, use your writing, make it great. Like, how would have Quinta have known that was like this woman's idea, you know?
I don't know anything about this. I just know what you're telling me.
I don't know how it works.
You know, who's to say, who's to know? I don't know. I mean, I know people who are like, you know, aspiring screenwriters that have like had conversations with Netflix, and it's like it's a whole process to like get approved. And
I believe it.
Like there's a lot of meetings that go into like deciding to create something.
Yeah.
But definitely in that process, there's like a lot of points of contact with people who you are like sharing your idea with. So like I don't know. It's like it's your intellectual property.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I definitely like. I hate any kind of plagiarism of any kind, like any kind of like stealing someone's idea. I hate it so much. So like, I really hope that's not what happened. Like and if it did, then I hope she does get what she deserves. Like that sounds bad. I hope she like
get the money that she deserves.
Get what she's owed.
But also keep letting the show happen.
Yeah,
because I would love to see it get multiple seasons.
Yeah, I guess I just don't want Quinta personally to be tarnished in Hollywood because of this lawsuit.
I mean, the show got Emmy nominations. There's a second season coming out. It's gonna blow over. I watched this whole show and I didn't know anything about that, and I probably never would have if you didn't bring it up. So,
but you never know. You never know. And like, again, I mean, I hate to make it like about race and stuff like that, but like when you are a creator of color, it's so hard to get these opportunities that like anything that comes along is scary because you're like, I worked so hard to get here and this is such a hard thing to accomplish. And what if it does mess up my entire, like, I mean, we have people out here accused of sexual assault and they're still thriving because they're, like, privileged. But, like, that's not the case for everybody.
Yeah, I guess I'm not in the right position to, like, make any judgment calls on this. But I feel like the show's going to keep getting made.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, for some reason, Quinta's going to keep getting work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think she's here now.
Yeah.
She's got these, like, Emmy nominations. She's clearly... It doesn't seem like she's the one at fault here. She's just a creator of this.
So then why is she in the lawsuit then? Why is it not ABC?
Well, because she's the creator. Like,
I get.
She's
I don't know how
credited as the creator and like the writer.
So do these companies say like, we have this idea for a show, we want you to create it, or is it
like we don't my point is like we don't know the details. We don't know if that's what actually happened. We don't know if like somebody mentioned like, oh hey, this one time somebody came in with this idea and then Quinta said, I'm gonna make that show instead. We don't know. Like there's so many different layers of like what could have happened there. It could have just been a coincidence, you know, like we just don't know. So like I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know. But I am just going to say I would like for, if this woman is truly being wronged, get her money and for this show to keep getting made.
I feel like copyright lawsuits must be super hard to like fight. Yeah. Because it's kind of like he said, she said, you know?
Right.
Like you might have documentation that you went and visited this person and talked about this. But, like, we don't know who they talked to about that idea. We don't know how it trickled down. So,
I mean, this is why like, so many people are like, I have this idea, but I'm only going to tell, like, you know, people I trust about the idea.
Yeah.
Because when something is just an idea, you could just as easily tell somebody and then
they
that
take
person
it and run away with it.
Yeah, or that person could think like, oh, like okay, like I'm supposed to keep that a secret, and then completely forget, and then like just randomly one day tell somebody like, oh yeah, one time somebody told me about this idea for like this thing, and like boom, now the idea doesn't belong to you anymore. Yeah. Now it's somebody else's idea. Yeah. So it's hard.
Rough. Well, I hope this lawsuit works out for all parties, and yeah. That's all I have for Abbott Elementary.
All right. Cool. First video podcast. How'd it go? Let us know. Make sure to rate us 5 stars on Spotify. It really helps us out. I'm kind of joking, but at the same time, it probably does help us out. So, like, I don't know. If you're there and you see it, hit the 5 stars, whatever.
I realized I didn't decide on a content to assign.
Oh, you don't have an assignment yet? Okay, that's okay. I made you assign first the last 2 times because I wanted to try and pair things up. Okay. And as I told you, I really wanted to, maybe based on what I'm assigning you, that'll help inform you like what would be really cool for you to pair up with. Okay. I don't know what you should pick. Okay. But something ever since the inception of the idea of content swap, I think even in our trailer, you gave an example and you said, like, for instance, if Parker ever wanted to assign me the Lord of the Rings, then we would do that. And guess what? I'm assigning you the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Is that the first one?
That is the first one. Okay. It would make no sense.
I was like, please. Yeah.
I'm assigning you the first Lord of the Rings movie. I'm super excited.
I am also very excited. I've always wanted to watch Lord of the Rings, so
The lore goes deep.
Oh, I believe it.
I found myself on like a Wikipedia hole, like going down a rabbit hole on Wikipedia, just like reading about the lore that I never understood about stuff that's like still in the movie, but it's like I can watch the movie and understand it, and I think since we watch everything with subtitles now, it'll be like a lot easier to pick up on like just what the heck they're even saying. But like now I like know some things. I'm like, ooh, it's very satisfying how deep the lore goes. And I'm surprised that I can invest myself in it. But we'll get into that a little bit probably next week.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. How long is that movie?
That one's probably 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes.
Oh, Lord.
But honestly, like, it's worth it. There's no dance numbers. I would watch that version, but yeah, no, there's no dance numbers. I will say though, each Lord of the Rings movie gets progressively longer. So like the second one is 3 hours, and the third one is like 3 hours 20 minutes. And there's extended editions of all three of these movies. So like the extended edition for Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, the last one, is almost 4 hours long, and low key, it's a bop. Like
a bop.
Yeah, the extended editions are, I think, the definitive way to watch these movies because there's just so much. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting into next episode's content already. I'm just very excited. I've pretty much been waiting since the beginning of the idea of this podcast to assign this. So, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay. Well, that did not help with my choice. But I'm just gonna like pick something.
Okay. Well, I was telling you all week, like I'm gonna give you something like very highly acclaimed, objectively really good. So try to pick the highest rated thing that you have on your list. And you were like, I think Nerve was the highest rated thing I had.
Kidding.
I know.
I was kidding.
6.5 on IMDb is the best she can do, folks.
I mean, I have some good stuff on here, but like it's just stuff that might require a little time. So I don't know if I'm going to assign it now.
Okay. I'm pretty sure Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring is like 9th highest rated on IMDb.
I believe it.
So
I believe it. Nothing will top that. Nothing that I give will top that you haven't already seen.
Well, you don't know.
No.
I haven't seen The Breakfast Club.
That's true, but
we're saving that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that. Keep it in my back pocket. So I'm going to give you something a little bit different. Have you seen Beyonce's Homecoming?
Is that the documentary about her Coachella performance? I have not.
All right. I'm giving you Beyonce's Homecoming.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
I mean, that's great. That's a great movie.
I think that works. Yeah. No, I think this will be a really good pairing.
Yeah.
I think that really speaks to both of our tastes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's perfect.
A little Beyonce
I could not be more satisfied with that choice.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, something as like dark and dreary as Lord of the Rings needs a little like fun.
I mean, not all of the Lord of the Rings is dark and dreary.
Seems dark and dreary.
There is some fun.
Okay.
At like the beginning.
Where does The Hobbit fall into play with Lord of the Rings?
The Hobbit takes place before the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But I don't really mess with those movies.
Why?
Because The Hobbit is one book. Okay. The Hobbit is like a short book. We're getting into it now, I guess. The Hobbit is like, it's not the longest book. There's still a lot like in it. It was written first. And then J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings. And each of those books, there's 3 books. They're very beefy books. They're huge. But each one was made into one movie. Like through movie magic. Thank you, Peter Jackson. So he made like each of these big books into one movie each. Then, he did such a good job. They were like, we want more of that. They took the Hobbit, which is like a way shorter book, and then they stretched it out over 3 movies.
Yeah.
So they just add in all this stuff that's not even in the book.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that actually, now that being said, I would totally go back and watch those movies. But it's like, definitely, you were nowhere near as excited going to go see those movies than you were when you went to go see the Lord of the Rings movies when those were getting released. At least for me.
Got you.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing I like really know about Lord of the Rings was I think on an episode of America's Next Top Model, they went to the location where they shot something for the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, one of those, I don't remember. Probably the Lord of the Rings because I feel like that was like back in the day.
The Lord of the Rings is like a masterclass in filmmaking.
Yeah.
So
They did a photo shoot there.
okay, yeah. They filmed the whole movie in New Zealand. It's like, it's beautiful. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should be getting into all of this next week.
Yes.
All right.
Anyways,
Hope you enjoyed. Yeah, sorry. Hope you enjoyed our first video podcast. If you're still listening and not watching, what are you doing? Get on the Spotify and watch us.
Listen to us.
Listen and watch. Or I mean, if you have it on Spotify, you can still listen. But if you open up the app, there's gonna be a visual. Hey, watch it be like that. Just like doesn't even work, and like the Spotify experience is just doesn't have a video in it.
Yeah.
We'll still upload to YouTube, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.